Live. We are live. We'll see if we get anybody popping in, but we can finish talking while we're waiting for people to come in. That's the only bummer about it having on my channel versus your channel is because you have way more subscribers than I do. But
Well, I'm willing to do it. I just don't know how, like where it goes jointly, you know what I mean? And between the two of us. I did post the announcement on my page, on the but I don't know what I'm doing with the I'm so
yeah.
not a techie. Like I
Hey,
looked
Sir
everywhere.
Crepitus. Nice to see you. Can you hear us?
I can't even see the chat. So hi, Sir Crepitus. Like I can't even see the chat.
You can't see the chat on your phone?
Mm-mm. Nope.
Well, good. We can talk about you then.
There you can. Yes, everyone you can gossip and say whatever you want because I can't see anything. Let me see
Oh,
if it
good.
says.
Okay. Hey, while we're waiting for people to
Oh,
come
good.
in, Sir Crepitus. Oh, sorry.
Oh,
There's
now I see.
Goosebump.
Hi, Goosebump. Let's see. When I see that, then I can't see you. So I'm gonna say hi. I'm gonna have to close the comments for now. I'll pop it open every now and then, but then I can't see you.
Okay. Scooter Mom, hello.
Hi, everyone. I recognize all these names.
Well, I was going to say, since it was just Sir Crepitus, if he would test out our video, but we'll just wait for everybody to get in. Okay, Goosebump, thank you so much. Hi, Nico. Yeah, it's actually kind of exciting news. We've been holding this one for a while, and we've been working on this one for a while, only because we didn't want to have so much backlash. And it's time, though. It's time to get the news out. Hey, YRB. So it's definitely time to get the news out. It's time to get some support letters coming in. So I'm excited to talk about this. I did send an invite to Serge and Sergio and literally Michael. I'm not too sure if they're going to pop in or not, but they do know we're having the live. So, hi Rachel. So, if you would like, as I said, I do kind of have a let me see if I can get this to where I can see both at the same time. But I wanted to talk a little bit about why we even did this. Do we want to play the video first before we,
I
or
want. I think you should set it up first a little bit. Give it like the trailer. You're good at explaining this.
sure.
A lead in.
Okay. So when we've done videos in the past, we've talked about the problem of people wanting to leave Scientology or having to leave, hi DT, or having to leave Scientology. And the problem is that the fear of God, if you want to, no pun intended, it gets put into them because they don't have any saved money. They possibly might lose all of their friends and family. They may not have the documents to leave Scientology. And it even gets worse when they're children that are involved. And when the children become PTS, potential trouble source, or declared an SP, or you want to leave with as a child, or even as an adult, then you have those fears behind you. And you certainly don't have the time or the money to save up when you're only getting paid $47 a week. It's hard to save up to have the finances to be able to leave Scientology. It's hard to have the savings for an apartment before you leave Scientology, and whether you even have the skills to leave or the skills to be able to know that that's what you need to do. When you've been in Scientology all your life or the Sea Org for that many years, you don't have the skills and the wherewithal to be able to leave Scientology. So we had, of course, Blown for Good and the Aftermath Foundation had done the video of a person named Serge Obelensky. I'm going to play a little bit of the video, but he was a child that was born and raised in Scientology. So he was a second gen. And as a child, he joined the Sea Org. And as a child, and I'm talking a child, I think 11, 12 years old, when he joined the Sea Org, and then he was out playing with some fireworks, and I'll let him get more into it in the video. Hi, Nunya Business. So, one of the problems that we've come across, that I saw the other day, was that everybody was really excited about the court case. I think it was Danny or no, it was DOA's court case where they got Jaden to admit that he was only making $47 a week. And yeah, that's great and that's sad. And it's good for public awareness, but unfortunately, that's completely legal as a religious entity to pay your volunteer ministers whatever they want to pay them, and it can be under 18. So there's already laws. They're following the laws of their volunteer ministers. So unfortunately, there's nothing we can do because the law's on their side. So we need to reverse that, and that's why we decided to make this law. Yeah, right, Ganja Girl, it is. It's more of an allowance than a pay.
And can I interject that with that $47 a week, they still make the person buy their own toiletries. So how are you going to save up to move out if you want to leave if you have to still buy your shampoo, your soap, your toothpaste, your toothbrush? They can't even provide the basic necessities to their, quote unquote volunteer ministers.
Exactly. And they have to buy their own uniforms, or they get their uniforms, but they have to pay for the cleaning of their uniforms. Yep, it's ridiculous. So, this is more for people that want to leave or that have been in the Sea Org, or staff if they've been in longer than 5 years, even on staff, because they just don't have the funds. But most people that are on staff for 2.5 or 5 year contracts, a lot of them have other jobs to go along with their service to the Scientology. So I'm gonna try and play this video. Um, I've got it loaded up. I'm gonna share my screen. And we are playing this under fair use. I'm gonna allow. Tell me, can you hear it?
I can't.
You can't hear it?
I can't. Is there a little on off like a volume button? So I know it seems like a lot of times they load being muted and you have to find the little unmute button.
Yeah,
Is
I'm
that
looking
there on the
for it.
bottom right hand side? I think. No.
Because I can hear it on my end. Blah. but you
Can you
could
take it
see
out
it.
of the maybe take it out of like put it expand it? Maybe there I don't know if that's makes a difference.
Yes,
Can anyone
Scooter
else do
Mom, I
it?
was using, and I'm more than happy to have help with this. I was using Chrome. Is there a trick?
We had to have some techies out there because I'm not it. I'm not that one.
Sir Crepitus, Jersey, DT, Scooter Mom. Yeah, let me see on settings.
If not,
Crap.
we might just have to slide through it, the pictures, and you could describe.
Yeah, I'm looking on the Dagnabbit. Always a technical issue. See, this is why I wanted Nora to do this, because Nora knows how to do all of this. And she is out. Um, let me look one more spot to see. Try unsealing that screen, then try it again, but check the options you get when you set up the screen share. I did. Okay, I'm going to remove. I'm going to present.
Maybe someone could do a quick Google search on how to get volume on screen share on StreamYard. I need to learn to. I don't even know how to send it to my channel. Like I would love to be able to send it to my channel. I cannot figure out how to do that. So I'm definitely not the techie. I admire all those who are.
Yeah, it just says allow. I really apologize for this goof up. You know what? We're just gonna talk about it. So this is the Aftermath Foundation's. So he was homeless and living on the streets of Hollywood. He
What
was
about taking it
declared
out of the
psychotic.
set box? Oops. Is there any way to, can you do like the whole screen button? I think it's the bottom all the way to the right to get rid of everything else. It might. Yeah, there we go.
Can you still see it?
Yeah,
Okay.
you see it better now.
So he ended up losing both his hands and his right eye. He was living at the Big Blue Building. So he was declared a suppressive person because he became a disabled person. He met a counselor that happened to see him on the street. And so she hooked him up with the Aftermath Foundation. Again, this really sucks that you can't hear it. And then
But
now we're
everyone's
going to
homework
get
is to go watch it after.
it. He's talking about that he lost his hands and that he has marks on his face. So he has a glass eye in his hands. But during, right afterwards, I'm going to pause this and we're going to talk about it because that just sucks that we can't hear it. And let's talk about this. So Serge became disabled, and one of the premises of Scientology is for the able to help the able become more able. And people with disabilities are degraded beings and not able to become clear. And so they're basically thrown out. So his mother and his brother had to disconnect from Serge. She became a little rebellious and said, "No, I'm not going to deal with that. I at least want to help him get his Social Security so that way he has funds." Um, he at least had that, and he had a house that he was renting. But because of some infestation issues, he lost his housing and he became homeless. He didn't know as a 15, 16-year-old how to do life. He didn't know how to take care of his finances. He had no idea. And again, his mother and his brother was disconnected from him. So he was completely on his own. He became the no hands man down at the Hollywood area there. And hold on just one second. I, I'm on a live. I know, I'm sorry, I'm on a live, honey. It never fails, you guys. Got the grandkids on the other line. So he became homeless, and for 6 years, he slept on the sidewalks down in Hollywood. And basically, they said, "Here's your $500, go away." Now, when he was found from the counselor and they started helping him, then he received what's called a rep payee, a person to help him with his finances. So that way he could get back into an apartment and have somebody overlooking his finances. So he was able, and then they helped him get his GED. They helped him get back in to have a quality of life. We looked at this and said, this is the most ridiculous, egregious way to handle a person, not only a person with a disability now, but somebody wanting to leave Scientology. In this case, he was forced out. But let's look at Amber Vanessa. Let's look at Serge. Let's look at Aaron Smith Levin, Claire Headley. There are so many people. I was watching an interview with Claire Headley just the other day, and she just got her GED just last year, and she's been out for almost 20 years. And look how long she was in all those years. That's absolutely ridiculous that somebody could just be thrown onto the streets or want to leave, and they don't even have the proper education. So, Audit, do you want to take a little bit there from what we decided to do with it?
Sure. Basically, I mean, that's why I'm glad I met Mona and hooked up, because my idea, like, early on, I knew I wanted to try to get legislation, because we have to. I mean, protesting is great, and it's needed and it's necessary. It gets attention drawn to the problem, but the problem actually needs to be rectified and dealt with. And the best way to do that is, yes, to get legislators involved. So yes, we can ask them to, and we should be asking them to look into revoking their tax exempt status, anything like that. But I'm also like, there needs to be certain laws. And I came to, Mona, and I said, we need to get some laws. And, I know certain people, let's try to hook up with them. But what law needs to be done? What do we need to do? And Mona came up with this. She saw the video and she's like, this is the law that, well, what I would like to see happen. And I'm like, I love it. Let's go with it. And maybe next year, maybe every year, there'll be other laws that we can add and advocate for as well. But for this, and it's too late. It was too late for this year's session, but for next year's session,
Right.
we're in the process of formulating this. But and so that's what we're doing. It's Mona's came up with the idea for the law, and we're just running with it. And then
And it
you want me
has
to
been
field it back to you?
proposed and accepted to the legislative session. We don't have a bill number yet, but it has been accepted. So they're very interested and want to go through with this. And at this point, we would really like to have letters of support, or maybe even start the Me Too movement of, yep, this happened to me, so that way we can get a count on. It would be nice to have this followed through with other states or even federally, but for right now, California is a key state to get this passed through. And so the Assembly, California Assembly, has decided to take this up, to do an assessment, and we're very excited about that. So it's more than just a thought, it's a propose, and it is
Yes,
already in the hands of the Assembly.
it's
So
in the
I'll read to
works, and
you.
it's going to go to. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yep, it'll definitely go through. I'll read to you what the proposed language is. Um, and so any volunteer minister leaving or dismissed, or a youth leaving or dismissed after a 5-year period would be due transition services paid from the organization. Transition services to include obtaining new or replacement documents, schooling, GED, college classes, housing assistance, job placement assistance, transportation assistance. This could be obtained through the State Workforce Development Center as wraparound services and reimbursed by the organization. So this is a net positive bill, meaning that it won't have to go through the finance committees. Probably it'll have to be housed either probably through the Department of Labor or Health and Social Services, wherever they decide that they want it. But it'll be net positive, meaning it's not going to cost the state money, which always makes it easier to get things pushed through, because it would um, be able to be reimbursed from the organization. And we had to make it general. We couldn't say Scientology. because this could be other religious entities that are doing the same servitude / slave labor that Scientology is getting away with. So you can't focus it just on Scientology, but they call them volunteer ministers, and that's how they get away with it. And so anybody wanting to leave and they've served 5 or more years, one, it puts a huge hole in people's resumes, in their work services and their experiences. And so, as I said before, they don't have the capacity. A lot of people don't have the capacity to be able to leave, to be able to afford, or to know where to go. So this will give them wraparound services, and paid for by whatever religious entity is performing it. But you wouldn't really want to go back to the religious entity to get the help. You would want to go to a state service or an emergency service, or the Aftermath Foundation or SPTV Foundation. They could perform those help also, and then reach back to the state funding that can be recouped.
Can I interject here real quick?
Yep, please do.
Thanks. We're going to have some ask eventually. Basically, it's going for next year's calendar. Hopefully, we're hoping that it gets picked up by the legal department. The assembly person did accept it. They're putting it in the file for to be taken up for the next season, and they were very helpful, very interested. So I know we're going to be getting probably like, I think what our ask would probably be to have the best email for the viewers, for everyone who wants to support, to start getting those letters in early, because next year's session's going to come quicker than we think. And we really want to push early to make sure it gets up to the legal part. And the legal part, they will do all the writing and they'll formulate the law in their way. So it's going to likely change. And there'll probably be some negotiations, or I don't know exactly how that's going to work. But I'd say this week, hopefully, maybe we could make sure to get the best email address. And guys, start writing support saying, yes, please put this on the calendar, push this through, because it's great they opened up the door, but we need them to take the ball and run with it. And any bill, the more support you get, especially, like, I would love to see the foundations, SPTV Foundation, Aftermath Foundation, just different entities, government, any kind of entity, to also write letters of support for this, because it's going to take support. We're not the only people asking for laws. There's a lot of people, and so why ours as opposed to others? So we need to kind of make a big, to do about it. So there's going to be a big ask, but we'll get back to you with, I want to make sure we're clear on what the best way to do that is. And we'll have
So
just another
Amy M.
follow-up.
Has a great question about how are they going to make the law enforceable? Well, as a net positive law, what happens on the backside is once there's a law in place, then it allows the Department of Labor, Department of Health and Social Services, whoever it gets housed in, to make a line item set aside. So let's say there's a $50,000 set aside. Or $100,000 set aside. When a person goes into, or they work with, let's say, SPTV Foundation, somebody wants to leave, they need to get their documents, they need to have a place to live. They can go into a workforce development center and work with a counselor or the programs that are already in place. And that money would be then taken out there, and then it's recouped from, let's say, Scientology. So it's not necessarily that it has to be enforced, like you're a bad person, there's gonna be a fine. The services are already there. People already can go to a workforce development center to get these emergency services. This just brings it to where it's a automatic set aside, an automatic service, somewhere they can pull funds from so that way they can be recouped from the organization. And that's how it's going to be enforced. It's not, as I said, it's not a fine and it's not something that somebody's going to get smacked over the head. It's just, it brings that possibility in because of it being a law. And I'm probably not explaining that well, but if you know how things work on the back end, they don't just put money aside just because the need's there. There has to be a law saying that that need is there. And so that way they can put the money aside. And if there's a recoup, if there's, yep, fire departments, that if there's a recoup there, then then they can reach back and bring the money back in to the state.
And that's why
Does
it's
that
going to be
help in,
important too.
does that help, Amy, explain it a little bit? Absolutely, it would be a big thorn in the cult. That's what we want. And honestly, anybody opposing this bill, which is why we haven't brought it out until now, but anybody opposing this bill is going to show their colors. It's going to show where they're coming from. And if you oppose this bill, because it would show your colors and show the money involved, you're going to have to register as a lobbyist to oppose this bill. And that's going to really put a thorn in their side too, because they're not allowed to lobby.
They already need to be signed up as lobbyists, which I'm also kind of working on that as well. Pushing for
Yep.
that because that's a whole nother, we could probably have stream after stream of what things we're doing, but we can't always put it out there. Like I don't want to mention like who we're working with or anything because we don't want to give them too much information. We want to kind of find that balance between giving you guys info but not letting them know everything we're doing either. So we can't always just come out with it. But I would like to see in this case, I would love to try to get rally support with like the Department of Rehabilitation and Workforce Development to support to support this as well because it would help them get more money, to offset their services as well. So for to me, it's a no brainer. They should support it, and
Yep.
we'll
Well,
see
and
where that
it
goes.
um I'll use Amber Vanessa as an example. And Jamie Mustard. They were both homeless after leaving. She couch surfed for years after she ran away. And they didn't even do the whole PTS and RPF deal with her because she was such a pain in the ass. And so they just let her go. So she had to couch surf at the age of 16. What? Who does that to a 16-year-old? Just go on, leave, see you later. They handed her $500, maybe. I think they might have handed her $500. Um, and but so now she's on the state's dole, trying to do emergency services, trying to live off from her friends, and food stamps maybe. I don't know what services she was able to get, if she got any, but certainly somebody had to pay for that. Somebody was forking over the money to
Taxpayers.
make sure she was fed.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to see like the little added bonus, if they could put a little bonus attachment to say that all of these agencies that have volunteer ministers are required by law to notify their ministers of all the services available should they choose to leave or should they be terminated. Because how many of these people are coming out at any age and they've never, especially if they grew up in it, they're not taught about how social services work. They don't know about, applying for help. They don't know any of these things, and it's a lot to navigate. And so you could really have a period of time, even if you're under the 5-year period, just if you're there, as a kid and you're growing up in this, they should be required to train them that. And that would be another thorn in their side if they imagine if they're required to train their people where to go if you ever leave us, that. But I would love to see that on the tail end. Just a hint, hint, wink, wink.
Yeah, I'm not too sure if we'll ever get that part in the law, but it would be cool. But
Right.
having them responsible for transition services is
Yes.
is huge. Um, Not only is it just the right thing to do, but that should be the legal thing to do. That they need to be responsible for people that are leaving their volunteer minister. I mean, people are giving their time, they're giving their life for as a volunteer minister for 5 or more years, and the youth even be, that would be less time, but the for $47 a week, come on, that's just ridiculous. And then when they do leave, having a bill that's not enforceable, but to have a freeloader debt.
Can I interject? Like here, I think there's a real shot at getting this because we have a tremendous unhoused situation here in California, LA specific, Hollywood, like right where the Big Blue is, an enormous amount of unhoused. And so this state is very, very proactive in legislation to for housing rights, for rights for the unhoused, all these things. So it's the perfect time also to jump in on that and really make the reminder that these people, when they do when they separate their service, especially if it's coming from the organization, because like I said, we can't pick one, we can't name one, it could be any. They're creating a situation, an on-house situation, which that goes completely against what the state is trying to do. So I think right now is the perfect time. There's a huge push for it, um, and we really need to make that clear. Like, we are trying to reduce the numbers. Yes, we need them to have the services, but we don't want any more people on the streets because they've served and given their time to an organization, and for whatever reason it's discontinued. They should not then have to be facing homelessness. It's not right. It's not fair. And I think the state, I think that they would agree. So I think there's a chance, a good chance.
Yep, I
I'm
agree.
gonna say great chance.
Ganja, what do you mean? What if it backfires and then they stop letting anyone leave? I I'm assuming that um, if people really want to leave, then they're going to be leaving you know, whether Scientology wants to let them or not. I mean, I think that's the way it is now.
Well, I think it could also help in the sense with like Serge's case that if they knew that this was going to happen, they're not going to throw a 14-year-old kid on the streets with $500 because they're like, we're going to be responsible for everything. So maybe we need to find a way to help him within our own resources and within our own, and not be so quick to throw people on the street. So, of course, I see them trying to not listen or trying to fight it, whatever. But um, there has to be something because like that story. I really would suggest everyone go watch that video. It is absolutely heartbreaking. It's soul crushing to see, and that he went through that. He's a grown man now, but to think that he went through that at 15, 16 years old is unbelievable. there has to be something that's done. And for all the people that are just kicked out, because a lot of these people, they're going to kick them out anyway because they don't fit within their SP, their whatever it is, they're going to kick them out. Um, I guess the worst thing backfiring is that they allow them to stay if they don't want to leave. If they didn't want to leave and they're being forced out, maybe they're going to think twice about forcing anyone out to become unhoused. But if you want to leave, I mean, you're going to leave. You're going to go through the process and you're going to do everything. And, I guess that, if they don't follow through with obeying the law and helping them with the wraparound, they can't hold them hostage and force them to stay. The person can leave. They just might try to make it more difficult, which I understand. But you know, I think with all this awareness and stuff, and hopefully with that kind of a law, there would be more. We don't know how they're going to write it. Don't forget too. Like once they get to the legal
Hmm.
portion, they're going to write it in a way that they know it can be sustainable and what the every element is. That's like whenever you get your ballot and you see all these measures to vote on and all that legalese,
Right,
that the people who are who are proposing the bill don't write that. It's the legal department within the assembly person's camp, and so they're writing this. And that's what's going to happen. So it's going to be, this is just the beginning. This is just the ideas. By the time it gets to that level, it's going to be worked out even more because we're going to be able to talk to a team of lawyers at that point because that's who, it's the legal department that it has to go to next. But like I said, it's not going to be on this year's. We missed it for this year, so it's going to be next year. So we need to be building up the momentum because one of the things they are clear about is that the more support that they can see, the more likely that they'll pick it up. Because right now it's in, they are preparing it, they are putting it through. They didn't deny us, they're interested, but we need it to move to the next level, which is going to the legal. And so the more support we can get going, but like I said, I want to make sure we have, the right, where to send it, what to do with that, and, so, and see how that should work. But we're going to need the support. The bill's going to help a lot of people because we're hoping that the doors are going to open and, and people are going to be leaving, in the droves. That's what we're hoping for. And we're
right.
trying to prepare for that.
Jersey Jan, I thank you for saying that. People will blow if they really want to. That's always been that way. But it certainly doesn't help that they don't even know where to go or what to do. And this is just something that then they have to have wraparound services. I mean, I kind of assimilate it to an abused woman or a person in an abused relationship. They want to leave, but it's dangerous to leave. And where do they go? And they don't have no money. They have nothing. And there are services for people that want to leave an abusive relationship. And this is the same thing. They're being abused. Yep, definitely. Imagine being undereducated, having no job skills, no job history, no credit, no driver's license, and poor social skills, especially the kids. There's a lot of developmental delays that are happening with these youth that are Sea Org members. Yep. Hi, Ree. Thank you for hopping on with us. We appreciate it.
I appreciate the questions because you give us food for thought and helps bring, we clarify things and discussing it. That's why I like these round tables where we all come together and we talk about it. So thank you, Mona, for putting that together.
Oh, no, this is definitely a surge and surge thing. So,
The surges.
surge and surge. Oh,
But please, everyone needs to, if they can, watch that video. It really, you'll understand why this needs to be a law. It was
and I'm
just
going
so
to say
egregious.
SPTV Foundation has already endorsed this as a bill. They've already given the support. Aftermath Foundation, I've asked a couple of times. I haven't heard anything back. I asked again today on their live, and they want me to email information again. Aftermath Foundation and SPTV Foundation, they need to be boots on the ground on this. They need to,
Yes.
all I'm asking is for a nod saying, yep, when the time comes and there's a bill number, we're going to say yes. We're going to say this is a good thing to do. Um, and I really need the Aftermath Foundation to step up and say that. I'm going to put them on
Yes.
blast. You need to do this.
It's where we all come together for the greater good of people leaving or being kicked out of Scientology. At the end of the day, that's what we're all here for. And we need to come together and do this. And here's a great way of possibly getting actual laws in the books to help anyone leaving or being kicked out of Scientology.
Jersey Jan, I don't know if it would help the California Assembly bill. Um, but first I think Florida needs to have this type of bill. I just don't know who or what for the Florida session. I don't know who would be a good person to help push that through. But maybe Illinois would be a good. Um, Pennsylvania would be a good state. I'm just thinking of other states that have, especially like the ideal orgs.
Yes,
Um,
and that's another chance for anyone who wants to take on their state, who know their local. See, because I'm from here, I know the local politicians, and who to, and so we're able. It's much easier when you know someone. So if there's anyone in these other states that, hey, I know my assembly person, or I know somebody from the assembly's office, and can get that ball rolling. Mona has all the, a lot of you could just connect Mona to that person and let her do what she does. And because it would be great to get this in multiple states. Like I said, when it gets to the legal area, there it may be worded differently, or it may change in some formats from state to state, but that's fine. And the final thing, it's all the same goal. And then we can push for federal. I mean, we can still push for federal. If we get to state level, we can push for federal. But if we can
mhm.
get more than one state, but this is where you got, because I know sometimes people will send messages, what can we do to help? What can we do to help? Well, here's a great way to help. Find somebody in your local assembly district that would be willing to, like, who we should contact, or who you think would be receptive. You could always call them and see if they would, be interested, and then give Mona, myself, or the information, and we can take it from there.
Exactly. Yep. So Jersey Jan, yeah, I think that especially Florida, because Florida and California are the two main states where this is happening.
And it would be really good to have somebody local, because it's always, good. Like every area, it has its own, everything's different politically in that area. So it's always good to have somebody who's actually there, like for anything California, LA, I'm here. So Mona is like, you would think she's here. Like she's so tremendous with that. But it helps to have somebody who's like knows the local climate, who just understands how things work locally. So if there's anyone in the Clearwater area, or Florida area, who understands a little bit of how things work there politically, and who to go to, or let us know, because yeah, I'd love to see this go beyond California.
Yeah, and as I said, it's a net positive bill, so it's not something that you're going to have to fight for money from, because a lot of the states are having issues still. Sir Crepitus, my email, and this is my public email, is Macaleese, MCALEESE, at gci.net, and that is my public email. Here, I'll type it in here. It's also on my page.
And you can send support letters right now, even if it doesn't have the bill number, it doesn't matter. You could send, saying
Yep.
you support this and it will get passed on because that's what they want to see. They want to see that there's going to be support. So this is where our, everyone here in this, who's following and taking part and doing and working and all this, you can really have a powerful say. It doesn't matter if you don't live here. You can still support it. It will
Yeah.
go a long
And
way.
Scooter Mom, I completely agree with you. Nope, this isn't sexy work. And audit, yep, this is going to probably get a lot of opposition, probably as much as the
Yeah.
butterflies. That's
Yeah.
actually just funnier than heck to me. But and then the name change for the road. I mean, this is going to get a lot of opposition um,
That's okay.
because
I think we can handle it. We're tough, right?
we can handle it.
Mm.
But those that oppose this are showing where they're at with it.
Yep. Because how can you oppose helping people, who've been abused by an organization? And it's beyond just I mean, Scientology is one. Yes, that's what created, this situation. But I don't know if they're the only one that does this, who abuses their people and then maybe tosses them aside when they no longer fit what they want. I'm sure this is going to protect. It's a catch-all for different organizations as well.
Hmm. And we are working with the legal team to make sure that um, that a 15-year-old working as a volunteer minister in the daycare of a Baptist center doesn't get caught into this to where they have to pay um, their education expenses. I mean, there's going to be language in there to differentiate. There really is. But for
Right.
right now, just getting it started and getting the proposal accepted is a huge deal.
Right. And they understand this is for people who basically they live, they live, it's a 24 hours, like you're living there. These aren't just volunteers who, they go for a few hours, right? Babysit some kids during Sunday service and then and do that for 5 years. This is for people who, when cutting off their service, renders them unhoused, renders them without without food, shelter, because they're being cut off, and so it's going to cover those, it will definitely cover that aspect of it, that by not helping them, you're adding to the homeless population, the homeless count.
Yeah. And as I said at the very beginning of the stream, the way a religious entity is protected, it's completely legal right now. 100% completely legal to do that. So we need to change that.
Baby steps, right?
Baby steps, yep, or at least give the state guidelines to be able to. So Ganja Girl is asking, so a nun leaving or a monk leaving could benefit from this? Yes.
Yes. Yeah, because they're living there and they've given their life and taken a vow of poverty. So they're in a very similar situation. And if something happened and they're kicked out, or, you know, they leave, they had to cut ties, then yes, I mean, they gave their time. They're now looking at, a situation where by cutting ties, they become unhoused. They don't have a way to just go get food and a job so easily. They need those wraparound services to get to the next step. Then yes, it's a catch, because like you leave one entity and then eventually you land on your feet, but there's that hole in between time period where, between the two. And how do you get the person from point A to point B? Sometimes they need help, sometimes they need, we don't know what kind of help, so it has to be kind of generic, because the help may be that they need a GED they may need help getting a job, they may need help to learn, some people may not know how to read well, or there's different, they may need help with getting their documents, because Scientology holds their documents, so they may need a social worker to help them get that. They may need to get on food stamps, and or Section 8, or whatever it is that they're going to need, because if you have a disabled person, they may need to they're going to have to sign up for disability. there's so many different things we don't know. So it has to be kind of generic right now because we don't know what the need is. But it's like we're trying to go from having that person go from point A to point B without falling through the cracks of the system and ending up homeless or not being able to take care of themselves. And so this law, it's just a protection. Yes, it does say that entity who's cutting them off has to help pay, which they should, but you know, but the state is there to help, but these people are not even trained to know how to ask for help. They're not taught this stuff. So there's a real
Right.
danger, especially if they're younger, to like, where do we go? What do I do? And that desperation. And we know there's people who leave Scientology who are kicked out that don't survive it. We know that for a fact.
Mhm.
That long list rolled out will always haunt me because there's people that didn't make it. And so this law, everything that we're trying to do is to try to put a cushion or a buffer to make sure nobody falls through the cracks ever again.
Yeah, Eyes to See 33 said, "What I don't understand is aren't those other more serious crimes to supersede the religious exemption? It all goes hand in hand. It really does. We need to, um, the other serious crimes, the child abuse and the sexual abuse and the mental abuse, the neglect, the abandonment. I can list on and on and on. Yep, those are huge and they do supersede and they need to be stopped. But this is a portion of it. This is an abuse. To kick somebody out, take them to the bus stop with 500 bucks and say see ya is an abuse. So it's part of the abuses that we
And
need to stop.
we have to take baby steps, you know. If it was so easy to go for the top, and this doesn't mean we're not, it's like a multi-pronged, approach. So yes, I mean, you know, we're always going to be saying children cannot consent. We're always going to be going for that. But then we have to sometimes start small. That's why I like to go to the neighborhood councils, grassroots levels, and build up from that point, you know. And this is a real need that we can get something, you know, and then we're also getting our experience and trying to get legislation passed. It's going to be easier to do this kind of a legislation as a catch-all to prevent homelessness in a person who's being detached from their organization than it is to be able to say, okay, you know, to stop Scientology in their tracks with everything else. That's going to take a lot, and that's a process. This is something we feel that we're hoping we can have in play by next year. And it's a start. Every little bit that every little win that we can get towards helping those leaving is going to be, you know, great. And yeah, it'd be great one day, you know, the feds go in you know, and stop, you know, get all these children out completely. We want to see that day where there's no more children in Scientology. But I don't know if we are at the point where we can get that done by next year, but I believe we can get this done by next year. And it's a start
Right.
and a good start.
Adrian made a comment that the SPTV Foundation have said that they've already helped about a dozen people leave Scientology. And imagine if the SPTV Foundation knows that they could hook up with state services and they could help be funded. Actually, Scientology would be paying SPTV Foundation to help the people that are leaving. Ha.
There's the rub. That'd be great.
Yep. But but it's a, SPTV Foundation can only fundraise so much and people are only going to pay so much and they only so much emergency service money sitting around. I mean, if they only get $100,000 for the year, that's their that's their budget for the year. And this brings it back to where the organization pays the state back.
Right. And the state would then contract, third party contract, would say the SPTV Foundation to provide services like they do in the Ticket to Work program and different programs they
Yep,
have, that, right, then they would then say, okay, we're going to pay for, like, this, the Department of Rehabilitation could say, okay, we're going to pay for their GED, their, if they need class, whatever schooling they need to get somewhere, their uniforms, say if they want to get a job and they need a uniform, their clothes for interview, and then they would have interview classes. So it would be a great way to see an organization, like SPTV, foundation, to step up and be able to get, link up with the state and be a recipient of, a provider for these services, and then be
that's
reimbursed
right.
for them. It's not always just asking for donations. They can hook up, with the state and
It
provide
definitely
it.
expands their resources. It
Hmm.
broadens their resources. But until you have a law saying that they can do that, the state can't do that as a recouped.
Right. And it would probably go back, like, anyone that was left, after 5 years, it may go back to, somebody who's been out for 10 years, if they were spent more than 5 years and they're struggling. And, it may apply to them, like, in the process, we'll figure that out. But it's definitely a great way to help the people. Like, we want to, our goal is to not only get people out of Scientology, but we want them to thrive. We want them to do well. We want to protect them and help them. And we're not, and this is just another way. It's just a quick way to hopefully get that done. But that's not
Joy,
the end of it,
exactly, right. So Joy,
because it's the beginning.
a not-for-profit can't accept that type of funding. Probably not in the way of the state paying, but they can become a vendor. Let's say SPTV Foundation could be a vendor to the state to provide wraparound services. And yeah, they could. That would, so 100% viable
Yeah.
option, as a vendor, not as a as being contributed to, but as a vendor. And that
Because they
happens
use a lot of
day in
third
and day out.
party. Yes, they use a lot of third party organizations to help provide. Because like Department of Rehabilitation, they don't do all the training. They pay the money, for the
Right.
person, to go do training. And yes, they always prefer public entities, but if the best recourse is to do a private entity, that's, like, become a vendor, because who is better to help somebody who's been through, who's been through this, than actual foundations that have dealt with it. So yes, they could become vendors if this law passed. Without it, I don't see, I don't know, maybe they still could. It's another avenue maybe for them to grow and really get help. But this would
Sure,
actually
it
go a
could
long
be.
way with helping people.
It could be. As I said, the only thing, the best thing that a law would do would be able to inhibit a line item direct fund. So that way there's a line item, so that way it could be recouped. That would be the best part about it. They could do this now if they truly wanted to. If SPTV or Aftermath wanted to assert the energy to have this, they could do this on their own. But this
They
would just
could.
help that line item along.
Or maybe there's like another as like another Scientology foundation that would like to rise up. If those two foundations wouldn't want to become a vendor and do this, maybe somebody could start another one that would just want to focus on being a
There,
vendor and providing services, so it
there you
doesn't mean
go.
we're always, has to be those two. Let's bring in more. It's whoever's helping. This is it's about helping the people leaving Scientology, whether they want to or whether they're forced. They deserve the help. And becoming a vendor and really linking up and trying to get those services and providing the services, great opportunity if anyone wants to start a 501(c)(3). And I know someone out there who's listening who's been
Yep.
saying that they kind of want to do that. So there you go. I won't mention names, but I know I know they're listening.
So Missy B and Seth D, Says something the protesters need is info in their local areas on where to send these people for immediately help, especially if the people wanting to leave are skeptical of help from SPs. That is true. Um, it, even to use the same analogy of a person that's wanting to leave a domestic violence or a domestic situation, they don't know where to go. So having word of mouth and having information out there is really key about this. But if people don't know that they could say, hey, if you want to leave, you can go to the Workforce Development Center. Everybody has job centers. Every state has job centers, but you can go over to where you get your food stamps, or you could go over where you go over to the Department of Labor, and people there know, oh, this is how we deal with this. It's the same thing.
That's why I had my hint, hint, wink, wink. I would love that at the tail end where these organizations are required to tell their volunteer ministers how, if they ever do, leave, where to go. I mean, I'm not saying we're going to get that
Yeah,
on this law, but that would be my dream, because I agree with you, and I would love it to be where they're required to tell their people where, and like, and even with the minors, I mean, as much as I don't like the foster care system, instead of throwing Serge out in the street with $500 being a minor, because they don't respect the fact that people are minors or adults. I mean, he should have went into a foster system at least where he would have been helped rather than just
right.
on his own. So there's this, as this thing progresses, this is just at the beginning. It's going to morph. It's going to get bigger and better, or it's going to continue, and it's going to hopefully have the right wraparound. And once we can get to the legal part of it, of the legislation, that we can really negotiate and talk more. And then we're excuse me. And then of course we're going to continue what we're doing, seek feedback. And I appreciate. I know we both do appreciate the feedback, the questions, and giving us things to think about as well as we progress in all of this.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So are there any other thoughts, concerns, questions that you guys can think of? If you do, please email me. I don't mind whatsoever. We want to see this. We want to see
Yeah,
this go
same here.
through. Yep, audits worked so hard on this. Um, her mind is always just reeling on things that could make this better, and I so appreciate it. Do you have any thoughts you'd like to finish us with,
Well, I
Audit?
yeah, I appreciate everyone that they send their ideas, thoughts, info. They're sometimes they're like, oh, I'm sorry if I'm bothering you. No, you're not bothering me. I actually really appreciate it. I know Mona does too. And so if you don't know my email, it's at audit.in.la@gmail.com. And I couldn't get the audit LA one, so I got audit in LA. And so feel free, because I appreciate it. I appreciate the info. I appreciate there's some people that we got some brainiacs. Like, we got some really smart people out there and who do analysis and stuff. And there's a lot of sometimes if I'm saying, if I'm thinking or saying something, it's because somebody made me think about that. They put my attention to that. And so I appreciate that. So continue it. So we're here to let you know this is what we're doing, things. And so, yeah, like, we want to hear from you. I thank you right now for giving us your thoughts and concerns and cares and encouragement. You guys are the best. And we can't, like, you
Mm,
guys, oh man, I just appreciate all of you so much. Like, I can't tell you, just the support and everything. It's incredible. So we thank you, and we'll keep you posted on what the next level is and what's going on. Like you said, we always are balancing between what we want to give information, because we'd love to just go tell it all and just go, but we're dealing with, people who we don't want them second guessing or going ahead of what we're trying to do. We want to make sure we're at the right point to be able to talk about it. So that's just where we're at. But thank you, everyone.
So you had a final question here. Audit LA, how is the kitty doing? And can I donate a
Oh,
few bucks to help?
absolutely. I'll repost if you want me to repost it on my, because I can't think of what my the Cash App is right now. I think it's I do Cash App and I have I can't think of Venmo. And so I could post that. But Kitty is like, and I'm gonna post. I'll post it with the picture. She's very pregnant, and she was doing bad at first. She was struggling, but now all whatever her leg issues were, that reflex, where her neck, where she would eat, all that's gone. She's very spoiled, extremely spoiled. She gets to sleep in a human bed. She's very loved, very taken care of. She's potty trained now, so we do believe that she was living outdoors. I don't think she was like feral. I think she was probably with an unhoused individual, and it got to the point where they knew they couldn't take care of her. So I think I like to believe, and I do believe that they dropped her off at the police station thinking she'll get some medical attention and help, which she did desperately need. And I know my neighbors thank you profusely for helping with that vet bill. The vet bill was exorbitant. And she's pregnant with 4 babies. Sadly, they don't expect one of the babies to survive, and they're heartbroken over that because they're ready to. I think they want to keep the babies. I don't know about all of them, but I guess it's a fight between mom and son. Son wants all of them, and mom's like, well, maybe just one. Well, definitely just one. Definitely one. Kitty's now named Nico, and I will share the picture of her very pregnant, but she's doing much better. I just don't know we don't know what's going to happen next with hopefully the birth. So keep good thoughts, prayers for her. She gives birth within the next couple weeks, and hopefully the kitties, do well. And I'm just kudos to my neighbors. They're because I couldn't take her. I have too many. There's just no way I could take a cat, and the babies would be dangerous with a chair, and so I thank my neighbor,
Yeah,
and she thanks all of you.
I'm Kid, hey Sir Crepitus, could you put Audit's link on there? Do you mind doing
Yeah, and
that?
thank you, Sir Crepitus. And I will post, and I'm not, like, because I don't want it to sound like just for anyone who, if they would like to continue to give anything that's marked, for the kitty, for the animal, whatever, every dime went to them, to cover everything. So um, if you earmark it for that, it is definitely going to go to them.
Yeah, I
And
absolutely
they're
love
very grateful.
watching Audit. I don't, if you go to her page, go to her channel, you can listen to some of her public comments. And lately I've been doing short little public comments, and she's been getting on to where she's on every single topic. And it's actually kind of fun because at one point we had one of the chairs that kept trying to tell her, "You're off topic." And she'd like, "No, I'm on topic. You just haven't given me time." And it's just fun to listen to you. You're just tenacious, girl, tenacious.
Thank you. I know my mom always said that as a kid. She's like, "You're like a pit bull. Once you get your teeth in something, you don't let it go." And I'm like, I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing, but yeah, it's just gotta deal with it. But thankfully, that president is gone, and I think Mona can agree with me that this president was like a breath of fresh air. No interruptions. Just let us speak. And and I speak the same way I always do. Like I may mention something, but then I always correlate it to on top, to the topic. If you just give me a second to get there, which is all right. We're allowed to do that. We're allowed to compare and contrast. So so I feel hopeful that things are going to get better. It won't be as exciting and contentious, but I have a feeling we'll be heard more. Hopefully, we'll see.
Oh, we both were at they put us on the agenda for the neighborhood council to talk about the planners and talk about the fire lane and the construction that's been taking place without permits. And we were both surprised at how many um, people Scientology had call in to talk about how they like the road being closed because it's so nice and calm now, and how the planners are there and the butterflies. Oh my gosh, we can't. I
Yes,
laughed. I laughed my butt
me
off.
too. But then I got mad because, and this is the point I want to make with them. Is that one of their people, I want to say his name is Josh, but I'm not 100% sure because we had quorum because they were going to vote on investigating this further and possibly writing letters to the city to ask about all these concerns. But they lost quorum because one of the members of the committee left. So
And that wasn't a tell whatsoever. No.
right. So we found the Scientologist. But the interesting thing about that too, what makes it tricky is that one of the members, and we also called the bid, remember him, Jeff, he's not the president, but he's on the board. And he owns the hotel where they meet, and they get it for free because he's the owner. He donates that space. So if they have to go somewhere else, they're going to have to pay. So you can see how tricky it can get. So all he had to do, and I'm not accusing Jeff of doing anything because it's just alleged. I don't know, but all he would have to do is just because there's the for quorum they had the three people. You just had to knock one off to get rid of quorum. They don't have to make Jeff didn't have to come and make a big stink. He just had to convince one person. So I don't
Right.
know if that's what happened. I don't want to, I'm not going to sit here and be accused of slander or libel. So I'm just saying that could happen. That could be a scenario if he wanted to. But he is on the bid as well. He's the chair of the bid, which is the business improvement district for that area of the blue building. And now the bid is different in different places. That I guess there it kind of replaces the Chamber of Commerce. It kind of acts very
Right.
similar to a Chamber of Commerce there, where in other areas of the city the bid is different. It doesn't act like that. But and there is a Scientologist who is on that board, and we called in one time to that meeting too, which we had to figure out when this month's meeting is, because I hope we didn't miss it. Although I think they do every other month. But there is a Scientologist on that board. And Jeff, and that was like, if you remember when Aja was there at the meeting and she pointed out the guy in the yellow shirt, for being
Right.
rude. This
Yep.
is who we're talking about. That's Jeff. And he is involved with a lot of things. He's involved with the Hollywood, the Stars Committee. I think maybe even the Hollywood Sign Committee. He's got his hands in a lot of things, and he's and but the we somebody found out, and that he once was invited to little Davy Miscavige's big donor dinners,
Right.
and so that is so that's interesting. Does that make him a Scientologist? Not necessarily, but I don't know if you get invited to Davy Miscavige's celebration dinners if you're not at least very Scientology, a pro Scientology and a very large donor to it.
At
So
least a safe
you
point.
know
Yep.
yes, so there's
Yeah.
some shenanigans there and we need to get to the bottom of it, and we're working on doing that. Half the battle is exposing it and letting them know, and
It is
if you look on
public
my,
awareness is huge. Yep.
Mhm. It is,
That's it's all part of public awareness, and it's a PR battle. That's
and you
really
can't
all
let
it
them
is.
hide. Yeah, he won't be able to hide once everyone knows, and he's called out on it. You can't hide anymore. So it's out there, and that's what we need, because we don't need the neighborhood councils corrupted like that, and we don't need the rest. I already think there's a conflict of interest because the other rest of the board, how far can they go in trying to help the people of that street when they fear losing their meeting space, stuff like that. You could just see how it all the entanglement. And so I want to support the
Yeah.
board. I always go with good intentions to these neighborhood councils. I understand it's a grassroots. You got to get to know who the players are and who they are and what they're about. And then like, I'm starting to find the ones who are, a little bit more leaning to listen or willing to listen, and others who just flat out aren't. So yeah, we're learning who's who. More to be continued.
Yep. And just doing stuff behind the scenes like this flushes them out. Fleshes and flushes.
For
Both
sure.
words. So if there aren't any more questions, I'm going to go ahead and we'll end the stream. Thank you so much, you guys. Thank you for joining us. It would be great if you could get this word out and put this link out. Um, it would help out a lot. Maybe we can get it on Natalie's channel tomorrow to talk about it and go from there. So if you guys want to help us, that might be a good thing if you want to get us on Natalie's channel.
And can I make one more little plug while we're at it?
Absolutely.
Also on my, if you guys look on my community page, I got some, it was like, I think it was like 4 o'clock in the morning going through, my emails, and I posted some interesting emails between Jennifer, legal, I call her Legal Eagle, Jennifer, and LAPD. And so I posted that out there. So I would like to bring that awareness to people too.
Yeah, Audit's been the
That's a whole other show to discuss
CPRA
about.
and FOIA queen lately.
But yeah, I was up to 4 in the morning doing more because the email, and I'm still going to be posting more, but that just created more CPRAs, and they don't like to fill them. So I had to say, I'm going to take legal action if you don't fill it. And that's how I even got this this batch. It's sad that we had to push the police department to say, I'm going to take legal action if you don't release this stuff, because we have a right to know. But that's on my
Mhm.
channel too, on the community page, if you want to read up about the latest, a couple of um, the emails that came, more to come.
Yep,
Thank
definitely.
you, Mona, for that.
Okay, guys, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Sir Crepitus.
Thank you. Yes, thank you